Good evening, everyone. This is Abhishek Gupta, DSC lead. Can anybody confirm I'm audible? Okay. Okay, great. So welcome you all for the last workshop of the Hackcell GDP. Okay, so today's workshop is all based on the cloud computing part, which is around for half an hour, and then we will start with the Git and GitHub basics. And those who don't know the Git and GitHub, like this is really important for all of you to know the basics of Git and GitHub. Like every CSC, EC, IT, and those students who are interested in IT field, they must know the Git and GitHub part. Okay, two things like a student must have a LinkedIn account, and students who are interested in information technology, CSE, anything. So all of you have to be learn GitHub and know the GitHub. Okay, so that's really great and welcome you all. Also, so this is the last day of the workshop. I have to announce something. So in yesterday workshop, I already told the winners will what the winners will get and what the registration, like those who register for the hackathon, they will get. So we have so many giveaways like from $7 courses, then blockchain courses, then for the winners, T-shirts, stickers, and key rings, mask, everything they will got, and with the subscription of lifetime subscription of Taskade, then 3 course subscription which worth around 15,000. Okay. Also a subscription of Hackers Club and a code from the Egghead IO. Okay. So these are the things like these winners get, and these are really useful for your for your life. Okay. So Taskade is really it's interesting. You can search in the Google also, and all the attendees will also get the Taskade 1 year subscription and Egghead code also, and blockchain school. Those who are want to start like learning blockchain, they can also start with free of cost. Okay, and you will also get the badge for attending the workshops, for attending the Hackfest, and for participating in hackathon. So those who yet didn't register, please register from our website. Okay, it's really important to register. I will put down the link in the comment section after 5 minutes. Okay. So welcome you all, and also the rules regarding the submission of your project or submission of your idea prototype. They will be send it to you by mail tomorrow. Okay. So you must have to be register for the Hackfest hackathon. That's after that we get your email ID and we will send you to your by mail. Okay. All the best everyone, and अच्छा करिए, अच्छा बनाइए, and we expect that you design something really innovative or really interesting. And like if you feel like my idea is not great that much, no problem. There is must a chance to win. Like अगर आपका आइडिया अच्छा नहीं है, क्या पता दूसरे का भी नहीं हो. ओके, so you must have to try and you must have to submit. Participate करना जरूरी है, जीतना नहीं. Okay, if you win, then that's a lucky chance to have like participate in Google Solution Challenge also. If you don't, no problem. You have the experience of a hackathon. Okay, all the best everyone. And now I request Cloud team to start the presentation. Thank you.
हेलो, मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
Yes, you are.
Hey everyone, welcome you all to this evening session of cloud computing. Myself Suraj Patel, member of Cloud Act DOS team. We are going to see some basic things about cloud. Swati, can you please change the slide? We are going to see introduction about cloud, some fundamentals, what are the roadmap, basic roadmap of cloud, what are important cloud services, what are different type of cloud services, and finally, how can you proceed cloud? Generally, roadmap of cloud. So let's begin with a story. I think everyone here seen the movie Avenger Infinity War. Have you? If you have seen the movie, you can write yes in the chat box. Oh, I saw many of you written yes. In that movie, Thanos need all six Infinity Stones to swipe out half the population of the whole universe. He knows he cannot do this without all of the Infinity Stones. Similarly, your software project will be incomplete without cloud computing. Here, cloud act as one of the six stones for completion of software project. Let's see what are cloud. Cloud computing is a virtualization-based technology that allow us to create, configure, customize application via internet connection. The cloud technology include a development platform, hard disk, software, application, and database. The term cloud refers to a network or the internet. It is a technology that uses remote server on internet to store, manage, and access data online rather than local drive. The data can be anything such as files, images, document, audio, video, and more. Social cloud applications allow large number of users to connect with each other using social networking applications such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. For effective cloud management, you need management, billing and invoicing, security best practices, and compliances. Here question arises, how can you proceed in the field of cloud? What are the basic things that you need to learn? Since cloud computing is a broad area, to learn cloud computing, you should have some basic knowledge of operating system, how they work, operate at high level, like Windows, Linux, and a few basic concepts about them. If you are familiar with using computer for different purpose, then you should provide you with enough context. After that, you should learn some basic concept of programming language. Just you should learn basic syntax of that particular language. You need not to be a top coder. Once you get your feet wet with operating system and servers, you will see that virtualization technology play a big role when we talk about cloud computing. From a die-hard point of view, there is nothing like trying to start your own virtual machine to understand how a virtual environment works. Virtualization allows you to create virtual environment that have a specific amount of CPU, RAM, disk, space assigned, and their own installation of operating system like Linux or Windows. They share the same physical hardware and all the network equipment, but they are virtually separated from other virtual machines. Virtualization has introduced an economic, a strategic concept called consolidation. This means that companies around the world using virtual machines don't have to allocate a single or physical server for every type of application or workload they run, but they can share resources across the many virtual machines. Virtual machines is the basic element of virtualization. Think of it as a custom computer that is created for you. In reality, through the virtual machine tech, a functioning instance of a computer has been made. And what cool it is that many virtual machines can exist on a single computer. Each virtual machine has its own operating system, CPU, RAM, disk, space, and many have a more complicated configuration on the networking side to deal with complexity that are inherent in virtualization. There is also option to move virtual machine among different physical nodes, flexibility to add new resource to an existing virtual machine, thereby making it very modular, changeable for your need. Another key advantage is economical. You can change virtual machine many different size from teeny to huge, and a cloud provider has accomplished this with a fixed number of physical resource. A user reap the benefit of this because They are given many different options with varying cost. Once you have basic knowledge of virtualization, operating system, and programming language, now you are ready to learn some basic concept of networking. Then you will easily learn cloud computing. Networking can be a very difficult topic, and even those a strong analytic skill typical required fully understand it. So don't lose faith. If if it all seems like some kind of mythical magic of beginning, that's totally normal. Don't worry too much about understanding of all the details right away. Some people make whole career out of networking. These are some basic things that you need to understand before proceeding further in the area of cloud computing. From here, Aditi ma'am will continue. Thank you all. Ma'am, you can continue now.
Yeah, thank you, Suraj. So before getting started, I want to ask you guys, do you know what are the cloud platforms? If yes, you can write the names on the chat box. Anyone? Yeah, that's great. TensorFlow is not a cloud platform, but AWS Azure are. Yeah, Swati, you can change the slide. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So to make you guys familiar about the cloud platform, we are here. So let's get started. There are several platforms which offers cloud services like Google Cloud Platform, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, IBM Cloud, Alibaba, etc. Now we're going to talk about the top three platforms which are the competitions to each other. That are AWS, GCP, and Azure. Swati, you can change. Yeah. So now we're going to talk about the first, that is Amazon Web Services. It is the first company who has evolved with cloud services, as Amazon offers a range of services that can be classified into computing, database, content delivery, storage, and networking. It also enables a smooth and flexible data collection flow using the serverless services such as Amazon SQL, Amazon Lambda function, etc. It also provides the instance of virtual servers and virtual machines. And if it comes to computing services, EC2, also known as Elastic Compute Cloud, are used to handle machines and managing virtual machines that have pre-configured setting and can be also configured by the user. Now moving on to the next, that is Google Cloud Services or Google Cloud Platform. With an intuitive interface, lower cost primitive instances, and flexible compute option. GCP is an attractive alternative to encryption to AWS and Azure. Google uses full-scale encryption of all the data and communication channels, including the traffic between data centers. Some of the areas where Google Cloud strongly competes the AWS instance includes payment instances, configurability, and privacy and traffic security. It is also cost efficient and it is mostly used in machine learning. It also provides the virtual hard disk. Moving on to the next, that is Microsoft Azure. Microsoft Azure has been designed for building, deploying, and managing various services and applications. Azure offers virtual machine and virtual machine scale set for compute services. It has also extensive networking capabilities, including support for multiple site-to-site connection to virtual network, along with the ability to connect virtual network across different regions to each other. And it also provides virtual machine instance. Till now, we have came to know about the platforms. Now we're gonna talk about the services. So, do you guys know what services does Gmail use? Anyone? Anyone know what are the services or what type of computing services Gmail uses? I'm giving you the three options that are infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Any guesses, anyone? Okay. Okay. So basically, yeah. Yeah, right. Now, let's know about this technologies, this services. Yeah, software as a service is only the platform which Gmail uses. Yeah. So moving on to the next. Now let's get started with infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service is a cloud-based platform where we pay as we use. Like it provides services such as storage, networking, and visualization. Or next, second point is they are highly flexible and highly scalable and can be replaced and we can replace it whenever we need without losing any money or any initial investment. Third point is it gives access to the resources like virtual machine and virtual storage. The next point is it gives us control over the infrastructure in our hand and it is basically used by the network architectures or the network architects. Now, the next type of computing services are platform as a service. Platform as a service is a cloud delivery model for the application composed of services managed by the third party. It is basically a third party tool and basically it is used and it is best preferred for the business purpose. It provides elastic scaling of your application in which it allows developer to build application and services over the internet and deployment include public, private and hybrid cloud. It provides a variety of services to assist with the deployment, development and testing of apps accessible to numerous users via the same development application, integrated web services and database. It also gives access to runtime environment to deployment and development of tools of application and is basically used by the developer. Now moving on to the last one that is software as a service. Software as a service allow user to run exciting online application and it is a modern software that deploy as a hosting services and access over output, rewrite text over the internet. And secondly, it utilizes the internet to delivery application which which are managed by the third party vendor to its user. It is a service model in cloud computing that hosts software make available for client. Software as a service are used for development and deployment of modern application and is basically used by the end user. Is there any question or query? Anyone? Anyone having the question regarding the topics? Supriti, what is your question? Yeah, what in which topic you need a brief? Can you please elaborate your question? Okay. So PaaS is also known as platform as a service. It is basically a cloud delivery model for application composed and basically it is used for the third party. Right? Are you getting what I'm saying? Yeah, sure. See, basically it is a third party tool as it provides elastic scaling of our application and allows developer to build application and services over the internet. Therefore, we use this kind of technology. Example of PaaS is hello. Am I audible? See, basically, this types of computing are used for deployment. If you need to deploy a model, you need to know cloud. Cloud is like a magic that adds features to your model's deployment. Yes, provider is different and developer is different. How is hosting different from deploying? See, deploying is something you can create or deploy. Hosting is something which is you need to host, you need to create whole thing, and deploying is you have a model. You just need to do a process on it, like basically hosting is used in software development and deployment is used in cloud, like web host, etc. Basically, deployment is we move code from a local computer to a public server. Are you getting others? Is your doubt clarified? Okay, then Swati, over to you. Now she is going to explain you about.
Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Okay. So, hello everyone. I am Swati and I believe that till now you guys have got the basic idea about what the cloud computing is and the different types of cloud computing, right? So, let's see, why do we need cloud? Cloud is not just a server, it's the solution of many problems. Like if we store our important document on Google Drive, then we can access it from anywhere and from any device. So Cloud provides us a universal document access. Next is Cloud provides us unlimited storage capacity so that we can store as many documents as we want. Now, if we talk about 20 years back, at that time, when we want to manage any big website, then we have to spend a lots of money to purchase a large amount of computers, and we need large amount of people to manage those computers, right? But now we just need to put our website on cloud, and cloud can automatically manage your website. So here, cloud helps to lower the computer cost. Next is cloud provide us a flexible environment. It means that sometimes we get a large amount of traffic on our website and sometimes we get very less amount of traffic on our website. So cloud can automatically manage this traffic by scaling up and scaling down. So now let's move further to see what are the different applications of cloud. So cloud is not just to store your photos. It's something more than that. Cloud help us to store online data. Like as we all use Facebook, right? So where does Facebook store all our data? Like our name, our photos, our friends. So all these are stored on cloud. There is no need to have any physical equipment to manage all this data. Next is backup and recovery. Suppose we have deleted our important document by mistake. So there, it become very difficult for us to recover those documents back. But because of cloud, we can easily recover our documents, and we can also back up our document for future. Next is testing and development. To set an environment for testing and development of any software, we need different IT resources. But Cloud provides us an environment where we can easily test and develop our software. Next is medical fields. Nowadays, cloud is becoming very popular among the medical professionals. They use clouds for storing data, managing data and sharing data among different medical professionals. Now, Claude has bring a very unbelievable change in education field. It provides us a different online platform where we can have different faculty member and they teaches us from very different places. So these are the some of the application of cloud. Can you guys name some more application of cloud in the chat box? Anyone? Okay, let's move further to see the career opportunities cloud computing. There are many career opportunity available in cloud computing. First is data scientist. Data scientist manages all the data and work with data, analyze data. So they need to have work with the cloud computing also. Next is software engineers. The role of software engineer is to work on different operating systems and to write their codes. So they also need the use of clouds in their work. Next is cloud engineers. The role of cloud engineers is to manage the different projects of cloud. Next is cloud security engineer. The role of cloud security engineer is to manage all the security issue of cloud. Next is cloud administrator. The role of cloud administrator is to manage all the infrastructure of cloud. So these are some of the career opportunity available in cloud computing. And apart from this, there are many more opportunities are also available in cloud computing. So guys, this is all the basic things about cloud computing. Now, if you have any query, you can ask in the chat box or unmute yourself. Is there any query?
Ma'am. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, how can I get deleted files from cloud? Hello.
Deleted files.
Yes, ma'am.
If you delete your photos from Google Photos, then you can easily recover it from the bin section. So this is because of cloud only.
Oh. This process work on the basis of cloud only.
What?
That process works on cloud. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yes, the cloud is basically used for recovering and all that.
Okay.
Hello.
Good evening, guys. Vikram sir, 1 second. Sorry for the interruption. Just give me 1 second. I
Yes.
just want to say something. Am I audible, guys? Just write in the chat section.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so all the doubt session that you have, all the doubt. I know cloud has a lot of doubts, and cloud is one of the most complex thing, right? Like I have received some LinkedIn questions too from you people only. So I'll be clearing those doubts after the Git session. Okay, so do not worry about the doubt like I've written in the chat section. So all the doubts will be clear and all your questions will be answered. So just hang on with the Git and GitHub session and try to concentrate in this session because this is the most important session. I'm just telling you Git and GitHub. So Bikram sir, you carry on. After that, I will answer all your queries. Okay.
Yes, yes. So, hello, this is Vikram Bes, CP Club Lead in DSCGGV. As Abhishek has already told you about importance of Git and GitHub, so before starting session, I also would like to tell you something about that. So, whether you want to contribute to any open source organization or you want to become a software engineer or you want to work with IT industry, so almost every company and organizations are using any of the version control system. Why? So for managing their huge code base. So these two are a very important topic, Git and GitHub. So without further ado, so let's get started with the session. So Sushil, you can continue.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everyone. My voice is audible, no? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Abhijit. Hello, everyone. This is Sushil from CSC second year and part of CP Club. So, as you know, Git and GitHub is much more important topic in IT industry. So, before beginning the Git and GitHub, there are certain terminology like what is open source software, what are closed source software, what are version control system. So, these are the very important terminology that you must know before beginning Git and GitHub. So, let's begin the today's session with first topic. Okay. So before starting, I want to ask certain question. Have anyone heard about anything about open source software? Then write it down chat box if you have heard anything. Getting good response. Okay. Some of you have heard about open source software. So let's begin. See, in a simple term, when you want to understand any open source software means we claim a certain project as open source when its source code is available free of cost and one can use that source code for the purpose of studying as well as they can modify that source code and they can also distribute that source code for any purpose. There's no restriction. Okay, unlike that closed source software. Okay, in this type of software you can distribute to any person without any restriction. Okay, now I think we are able to understand what are open source software. Okay, can anyone give the example of open source software? Okay, some of you have given the example like Linux and all. Okay, see on your screen you can see certain example like Mozilla Firefox, VLC Media Player, and the Linux, as someone mentioned in chat box. These are the very popular example of open source software. Okay, now coming to the what are the advantages one have while using open source software. See, one of the greatest advantages is affordability. As someone mentioned that open source software are free of, one can use that open source software free of cost. Okay, one don't have to pay for its uses. See, and one more advantage is that collaboration. Collaboration means when a user can suggest certain changes in the project or software. Okay, and the original writer can definitely accept that changes if they want. Okay, and one more important advantage one have is transparency. This is one of the major advantages that one have while using open source software. Transparency means you have access to the source code and you can check the errors or inconsistency if they are present in the source code, and you can suggest or you can definitely bring that suggestion to the original author. Okay, now I think we're able to understand what are open source software. Now coming to the second topic, what are closed source software? See, same question I want to ask before starting. If anyone have heard about closed source software, then write it down. Hello, if paid service, right. Some of you have heard about closed source software. See, See, as name suggests, it is just opposite to what open source software means. Its source code is closely guarded by certain organization or the author of that particular software. And as a user, we don't have the right to modify or bring changes. Only the original author have the right to bring the changes in that source code. And as a user, we have to pay for its uses. We don't have the right to purchase that software, and we cannot use it for freely, as we had that freedom in the open source software. So some of you can definitely give example of closed source software, I think. Okay, need licensing, that's great. And can anyone give example? Okay, some of you can, like Windows and all. See, so you can see on the screen, like Windows, if you are designing enthusiast, you definitely have used Photoshop and Skype. So you have to pay for its uses. Okay, these are certain example of closed source software. Now coming to what are the advantages that one have while using closed source software. See, one of the major advantages is the technical support. You have 24/7 technical support, unlike the open source software. Whenever you face some technical challenge while using this closed source software, you can definitely consult the technical person for your support. Okay, see, as you have all used Windows, you know how user friendly those Windows operating systems are. See, that is one of the great advantages while using closed source software, is that it is very user friendly. Okay, now I think you are able to differentiate between what are open source software and what are closed source software. Okay, now coming to one of the major important topics of today's session is the version control. See, if you want to understand version control in very simple term, you can understand it as it is we can understand a type of system which keep track of all the changes we do while we are working on certain projects. It just while we are modifying or doing any changes on the project, it just keep the track of everything and keep in certain type of server, we can see. So whenever we are working on a project, that version control system help us to track down all the changes that we have done. Okay, and on there are three types of version control system. We can say, like local version control system, centralized version control system, and distributed version control system. Now coming to the first type, that is local version control system. See, as the name suggests, local version control system means we store all the code related to certain project or all the data related to certain project in local system. That can be your PC or your hard disk. Okay, see, one of the greatest disadvantage while using this type of version control system is that once your system is corrupted, your PC, your hard disk is corrupted, there may be a chance of losing all the source code. Okay, so to overcome such type of problem, we have one more type of version control system, that is centralized version control system. See, in this type of version control system, we store all the source file of particular project or all the data related to that project in a centralized server. So we don't have to worry when our local PC is corrupted or something. But there definitely lies certain disadvantage while using centralized version control system. That is, once server is down or if any problem arises in the server, there definitely arises a chance of losing your source code or losing your file related to that project. So to overcome such type of problem, we have one more type of version control system, that is distributed version control system. This is very important type of version control system. See, unlike a local version control system and centralized version control system, we store the source file of that project or or any data related to the project not only on the server but also on the local computer, and also to the all the team member who are working on that project in their personal computer also. So once server is down, or there is any sorry, if there is any mistake in if there is a bug or something like that in your local system, then we can definitely take the code from either from the server or from the multiple user who are using that projects. So one of the major example of distributed version control system is Git. So we are going to discuss about Git in the further session. So now coming to what are the benefits one have while using version control system. See, as I mentioned before, as I mentioned before, version control system keep the track of all the modification that we do. So whenever we are working in a team, it allows us to share the code. You will learn this in the later session while you are studying Git. Okay, and as well as it keep the track of all the modification. If there are certain modification which are not good for your project, that can bring certain bug or something like that. So as we have the original source code in your version control and the modified source code, then we can compare both the code and check where the modification has went wrong and do the correction. And I think that's all from my side. Now I think we're able to differentiate between what are open source software, what are closed source software, what are version control, and that's all from my side. Now I want to hand over to Pragati for further session. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sushil. Now we'll continue with learning about Git. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Pragati.
Okay. So Git is one of the most common VCS, which was created in 2005 by Linus Torvalds, the developer who started Linux kernel. So please write how many of you have heard about the Linux in the chat section, maybe. Okay. Linux, yeah. So it is one of the most popular OS, and it was developed by Linus Torvalds and his team. So a quick history. Since Linux is a big project, he and his team were working on it from 1991 to 2002. So it required a lot of developers to work on the same project, right? So they required a version control system with all its benefits as described by Sushil sir, right? So he used the Bitkeeper VCS until 2002. But in 2002, there was this sudden controversy and the prices rised hugely, and Linus Torvalds was forced to pay a large amount. So he was like, "Why would I pay such a huge price? I'd rather develop my own version control system." So that's like a lesson. Develop your own technology if it's asking for so much like huge charge. So in 2005, he came up with a new version control system called Git, and today, Git is one of the most commonly used version control systems. So now let's talk about Git. How many of you have already heard about Git? I'm talking about Git. Please write in the chat section. How many of you have an idea about Git or heard about it? Yeah. Almost everyone in the IT field have heard about Git at some point. So like any other version control system, Git tracks the changes you make to the files. So you have a record of what has been done, who has done it, and if there is some bug in some version due to some changes, you can revert back to some older versions if you ever need to. Also, Git makes the collaboration easier, just like Linus Torvalds and his team. It makes multiple developers to work on the same project and all their changes to be merged into one source. Just like in this example, we can see that this is the main branch, the master branch, and this is contributor A, and he cloned it in his system. Cloned means copied the code in his system and made some changes, and changes were merged into the master branch. Similarly, the contributor B made some changes and her changes were merged in the master branch. This way, multiple users can work on the same project using Git, using and so thus any project or the open source projects are so popular due to Git. Okay, so Git repository. Git. How many of you have heard about the word repository? And do you have any idea about what is repository? Please write in the chat section. Like, what do you understand by the word repository or repo? Any idea? What do you think about it? Okay. Heard, but don't know what exactly is Git. So Git repository is a very easy thing. It's basically a collection of all the project files. All the project files and the entire revision history. Revision history is basically all the history of who made the changes, when they made the changes, all the history. And to make any folder into a Git repository, you have to tell Git to make it into a Git repository. How it does that? By making a .git folder inside the project. .git folder has all the metadata, that is the configuration and the history, everything in it, and it's a hidden folder. So Git repository is basically collection of the various collection of the project files and the history. Git. Someone has wrote, what is Git? Git is version control system. Version control system. Git is an example of version control system. Basically, one of the most popular version control system. Okay. In the previous, Sushil sir just told what is version control system. Okay, so we have got an idea of what is Git. So we would try to. So the first step is to install Git in our system. I think a lot would have already Git installed in their system, and those who don't, we would do that quickly right now. If you don't have Git installed in your system, I would request you to bring your laptop PC and just do it with me. It would help to make you understand a lot more better. So we'd simply type git install, no big deal. The first link which opens, you just open it. All the examples of OS, Mac OS, Linux. The one which I was talking about, Linux, Windows. Mine is Windows. So, and it automatically starts downloading Git according to the system requirement. Every time you open the link, it would start downloading. I have it already downloaded. So I would stop. And if you don't have it downloaded, just let it complete the download, 48 MB, and then just do next, install, simple. And then you would have Git in your system. Okay. So that was it. Let's see few simple Git commands. Okay. Git provides its own command line input called git bash. Those who have downloaded already Git installed, just do it with me. It would be like much helpful. So this is the command line input. Increase the size. Is it visible? Is the text visible? The command? Please write in the chat. And who all are accompanying me in doing the commands? Who are doing with me? Please write in the chat section. Who all are accompanying me in doing this? Yeah, good. Okay. Yeah, let it install and then you can start. Okay. So the first step is the configuration. That is, configuration is a big term. It basically means telling Git who you are. Okay, who you are. So with that is Git configuration. So for Git, so those who are running Git Bash for the first time, the Git for the first time, they would run those commands, and those who are not, they don't need to. Okay, they must have already done this. So we tell Git who we are. We just say a quick hello. So we write git config ---- global user dot name. Okay, first I will change. You can do it directly also, or I just change it to desktop. Okay, cd command is for current directory. Would change it to desktop. Current directory. Yeah, now it's in desktop. So we'll start with the config. User. That's your name, and then you need to write your email address. Git config. Whenever it goes fast, please write in the chat section. You can even unmute yourself and tell if it's going fast. Okay, tell your email address. You write your email address, whatever it is. Just write your email address. Okay. And you're told Git that what's your name and what's your email address. So now you're ready to start. So we would make one of our folders into a local repository. Okay, local repository is basically what is in your system. So we would make, you can make a folder the normal method, or you can also do it from the command line. This is the norm. I'm doing it from this. So we'll just make a folder. This is the folder. We would change it to this folder. You can there are two ways of doing this. You can do this, or you can just do this. Git bash here. It would automatically open. Okay. From anywhere you are in any folder you are, just do git bash here and it would open. Okay. So let's just run first. Telling Git that we want to tell it, make it into a Git repository. So what was the step? It would make a .git folder. How would that happen? Initializing that Git folder. So we write Git in it. Yeah, see, this is the hidden folder I was talking about. This has all the metadata. Okay, and now this folder is a local repository. Now let's make some changes. Let's put a file. Okay, put a file. Simple text file. Any file would work. Put a file. Let's just write something. This is a text doc. Okay. You don't understand any step, just ask out. Okay. Now we have a change, made some changes. Now we would see the status. See, what does it say? Untracked files. Untracked files, you would remember the term. Okay, we would see it just after this practical thing. We would see it just after this. So now it is untracked file. This is one file untracked. Okay. Now we would make it. Now it's stage it. Okay. So how to do that? Right? Git add. You can either write the file name this way individually, all the changes, or better, just put git add dot, and all the changes that you did would be staged. So yeah, we have done the git add dot, and now we'll see the git status again. It is not writing untracked. Now that means it's tracked now. So, but they are not committed yet. Changes to be committed. So we would commit it. And -m means writing a message. We would write a message. Initial commit. This is the first time we are committing from this repository. So we would write initial commit. Okay. You can also write first commit. Yes. You've committed. Now it's see the git status again. You don't need to see the status again and again. I'm just doing it to show you. So yeah, nothing to commit. We've already committed the changes. So working tree clean. And now we can save. Now this is committed to our local repository. Okay. This local repository, we have committed the changes, but not to any remote repository. So these are the basic. Until now, people, you're understanding? If you have any doubt until now, please write it down. Any not understood any command or anything, just simple English. Whatever the term means, literally, it means that. Status means it would tell the status. Commit means it would be committing. And add dot means staging. Okay, just simple English. Any doubts still now? Understanding? I think we understand. Okay, so we'd go further. We'd see the meaning of the terms. Okay, what does those terms mean? You've done the installation. This. So, what this is the cycle. So, working means you're making some changes, working on some files, working in some files in the repository, in the folder, making some changes. Okay. Then you'll be doing just remember the commands that we did. First, we made a change, we made a text file, and then we did the git add dot command. Okay, git add dot, and then it is staged, and then we did the commit. So it got committed in the local repository, and then we would make some changes again, and this goes on and on. This is the local level. Okay, local repository level. This is the 3-tier architecture. Working, then staging, and then committing, then just go on. These are the commands. We did the git init, then git add dot, individual or all together, and then git commit. So these are the stages in Git. Modified means you have made some changes. Okay, you have those changes exist in your working directory, but Git hasn't recorded them. But you have not told Git that you have made those changes. You have made those changes, but Git doesn't know that you have made those changes, right? So then you would that means they are untracked files, right? They are untracked files, and we have made some changes, and then we would stage them using git add command. Okay, stage basically means they have been marked that this lot of files or this lot of changes would be committed just when we commit, do the commit. Okay, whenever we commit, all these files which we have staged would be committed. Just marking them that they would be committed here on. Okay, and then commit. On commit, they become the part of the Git history. Now Git knows that you have done those changes. Now, when you do the Git status, they will no longer list them as changes because they are part of the last commit. Okay, they're committed now. And then status of an individual file. Tracked files are basically means those have been or which are already in the last snapshot. That is, Git already knows about them. Those changes are those files are the tracked files. They have already been committed. Okay, untracked files are basically they are in the work. I told you right, modified that they are in the working directory, but those files have not been committed yet. They have not been even added. Okay, so they are called untracked files. They have in the git bash there was written right untracked files text.txt. Okay, and then modified files, the ones which you have changed, and unmodified files are those like suppose you have cloned someone else's repository in your system and now it's in a folder. You have not done any changes in the repository, okay, in the folder, repository, right? So they are all those changes are already recorded in the .git folder when you clone them, and those are the unmodified files. When you do some changes, they become modified files. So this thing goes on and on. At any point, if you're not understanding anything, just ask, because this is what we just saw. This unmodified files are those which, like the folder where you have not done any changes, they are unmodified files, and then you do some changes, it becomes modified. You do the staging by git add, they become staged, and then you commit. Okay, then they get added in the git record, git history, and then it becomes unmodified again. You do some changes, this goes on. So now I think now we have got an idea about Git, all the stages of local repository. Now we will switch to GitHub. Many a times we use the terms Git and GitHub interchangeably, but both are different things. Git is the version control system, but GitHub is the code hosting platform. Git is a Git repository hosting service. Also, it has many of its own features. Okay, let me give you a small example, an analogy. So, in Microsoft Word, have you seen the word edit, undo, etc.? In Microsoft Word, everyone has used Microsoft Word. Have you seen the word edit, undo, etc.? Yeah. So Git does that. Git allows you to edit and then save the history and then undo, right? So, but for every change that has been ever made into a project and by any member of your team, so it allows you to edit or undo into a previous version. Tracking changes. So when you're working in Google Docs, it shows any Google Docs or like Google Slides, it shows a small red and blue contributor, those who are working, right? Have you seen that? The small, when you're working in any Google Docs, they are showing who is working on what, the small bubbles. Have you seen that? Just write in the chat section. When you're working in Google Docs, it shows various people where they're working, what changes they're doing in red and blue color, those lines. Who is making what changes? It shows, right? Yeah, so that is Git. It includes all the comments and who did the changes, when they did the changes, and basically why they did the changes, right? And then, have you heard about Dropbox? Or basically, or the cloud which we heard just now. It keeps a copy of your code or of your, it keeps a copy. So GitHub does that. GitHub keeps a copy of your code. GitHub stores your project files, right? And along with all these, GitHub, Facebook has like, Instagram has like buttons, comments, etc. So while some non-programmers and those who are not really interested in coding, they find Git as interesting as some fax machine. So GitHub tries to make that process of working with projects through Git feel a little like social media, like with stars and comments, etc., etc. So GitHub is has that provides Git with a web-based graphical interface and also provide access control and several collaboration features such as wikis and basic task management tools for every project, basically trying to make Git a lot more interesting. So now we are clear with GitHub. Now we'll see how to work with GitHub, the good part. I think we are done with like some part of the theory. Now we'll start with the so the first step in working in any web hosting platform is making an account, right? So how many of you already have a GitHub account? Please write in the chat section. How many of you already have a GitHub account? I think most of you have GitHub account. Even I have a GitHub account, but we'll just quickly see how if someone doesn't have, how does that process would be. So just simple GitHub. We will try GitHub. And you just go to GitHub, join GitHub. To me, it shows already signed in, but if it just asks for username, email, and password. Simple. But still, we would just go and see. Yes, it would look like this. Simple username. You put a username, email address, your password, and create your account. That's it. And once you're done with creating your account, the next step is to make a repository. So we would make a new repository. I think everyone has those who are accompanying me and has a GitHub account, just follow the steps. Okay, we will do it together. Write Git tutorial. The repository name. All these steps are looks very simple, but if you miss one step, then maybe it would not be working. Some optional description. This is for practice. Yeah, so we made the repository. Just happened to be quick. Yeah. So now the next step is pushing our folder. In fact, we have all the steps written over here. Right? We did the init, we did the add. README is basically it's optional. It's basically an introduction about your project, about the softwares required, softwares used, and then installation process, etc. Like a quick brief through. Okay, and then git commit. We did the git commit already, and it's, the branch is by default master, and then we would continue after this in our old folder only. What is the next step? You have already done. If you're doing it for the first time, you need to do all those steps, but we would continue from the next step. You would add remote origin, git remote add origin. That is, tell our local repository where are we going to push you. Git remote add origin. You can also copy this one. See, this is SSH. Okay. Git remote add origin and then double apostrophe. Paste. Control plus V or Control plus C doesn't work here. Sorry. Maybe you already did it. It says it already exists. So, you just see the config if it already exists. Yeah, it already exists. The remote is there. This is the configuration. Okay. You can check. It's already existing. You can continue. Yeah. Then we'd see the git status. It was when you see this line, working tree clean, nothing to commit, you can safely push let's see if our changes are there in the repository. See, our changes are there in the repository. This is a text doc. That's what we write. That's what we wrote. So a quick brief through. First, git init, make the folder, do the changes, then git init, and then first thing is git config. If you've already done the config, then git init, then git add dot, git commit -m, the message initial commit, and then add the origin, the SSH link, and then you can push into the git push origin master. Also, don't need to remember those commands. By using, you would get to remember these. And also you can see the documentation. It's also written everywhere in the Google. Google is our best friend. Okay, suppose now this was the first thing. The next thing is suppose you have to clone someone's. Now we're done with this. For now, it's closes. Okay, suppose you want to clone someone's, clone means bring it to your own system. Suppose you want to clone someone else's repository. Okay, yeah, this is my repository. You can go to someone else's also. This green button, the SSH link, and then go to your desired location. And then do git clone. Clone it. You copied the link, paste it, in our local system now. So this way, and also has a .git folder. So you can make some changes, then do the same steps. Okay, easy. Now suppose someone clone into like made some changes, then did a pull request, and you merge the pull request, and now your project like your Git repository in the remote repository has the changes, but your local repository doesn't have the changes. Then what do you do? Like suppose you can do small changes from GitHub itself. It would do a small change. And then we'd commit the change. Now, this is a change in the remote repository, but our local repository doesn't have the change yet. It is still in the old, this is a text doc, but now we need to bring the changes to our, let's close all this. You just need to do a git bash here. And then do you to push the changes from local to remote, do push, and from remote to local, we do the opposite. Git pull origin master. Yeah, one file change, two insertions. Okay. And then let's see if the changes are there in the local repository now. Yes, the change is in the local repository now. So these are the three main things that you would be doing in GitHub. So yeah, those are the basic GitHub commands. If anyone has any doubt until now, they can just write it down. Because this is a very important topic. Like seems like an easy, but you can't skip the topic. It's not an option, right? You have to know Git and GitHub if you want to do developing or just DSA, but you need to know GitHub if you want to be in IT industry. This is the basic. Adding files. Okay, you can do simple adding files through GitHub only, GitHub itself, like single files. But for the whole folder, you have to do the git add, comment, etc., etc. We did this git clone, we did push pull, right? We seen these commands. And now, if you have any questions, you can just write it down in the chat regarding all that we have learned in Git and GitHub till now. Anyone, any question about any command, etc.? And if you understood this, you can just write understood or yes. For what purpose we use Git and GitHub majorly? We use Git and GitHub majorly to work for collaborating in projects, for work, for multiple developers to work on the same project and track the changes that we are doing into the project. Okay. basically for multiple developers to work on the same project at a time and to track the changes, who changed what, when they did, why they did, etc., etc. The difference I told you, Git is a version control system. It is a software. It tracks the changes. Okay, it tracks the changes, and um, but GitHub is a web platform. Okay, it keeps your code. You saw, right? It kept the text.txt. It keeps your code. It's a platform. Like, it's a storage, and also it provides the Git services, that who did the changes, when they did the changes. Like, I'll show you. You can go to the history, like any. This is this one only I did. Like any repository. Yeah, we can see here only. You can see the history. Who did I did the changes. I committed with the message, initial commit, and then I did an update. Okay. So all these history are stored with the date, time, etc. Right. So these are the changes which GitHub also has, and it provides a good interface. Git is a boring, like looks boring command line interface, but GitHub has a nice web based interface, and it has like star notifications, etc. It tries to make Git little more interesting. Application of Git, the same thing for tracking changes and version control, tracking changes and bringing back the old versions if you have some bug in the new ones, and working the same time by multiple developers. Okay. Any other question? I think I was clear with this. Any other question? Cloning is basically, clone means, have you heard the English word clone? Clone means a copy, a duplicate. It creates a duplicate in your local system. It creates a duplicate of the remote repository into your system, into a local repository. It creates a copy so that you can make changes in it. Okay. Hackers don't clone. Clone is basically to create a duplicate. It creates a duplicate in your system. Ankit, it's a legit doubt, but I don't think that it's related to the topic that we are studying right now, learning right now. Okay. Okay. I think I'm clear. Thank you for being such a nice. And I think we had a fun learning session. Now, I would like to hand over to Abhijit, sir, to continue with some doubts of yours and if he has some input. So,
Thanks, Pragati. Good evening again, guys. So, am I audible? If I am audible, write in the chat section.
yes, yes, yes.
Great. Okay, please start asking your doubts. Like, I've seen a lot of doubts above, but I don't remember. So, one by one, start asking your doubts. We have only 10 to 20 minutes, not more than that. Not 20 minutes, only 10 to 15 minutes. What is Termux? I don't know what is Termux. Please explain. What is Termux? Are you talking about terminal?
Vijit, I think Termux is a terminal used in Linux. And right, yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
So I don't know. Git is actually the inbuilt version control system in Linux. So I think that will be available in Linux as well. I have never used Termux, right? Neither I use Linux. Ankit, first let's clear doubts for this session, and after that you can ask anything else. Okay, if something is providing some Linux interface in Android, then you guys may have the Git version control system already in it, because the Linux has the Linux houses the basic Git operating system. Git version control system. So that may be available there. You can just try, because I don't know. I've never used it. Anything else? Guys, start asking doubts, because we have only 10 to 15 minutes. There are a lot of doubts. You can ask doubts regarding cloud as well. As I said, I will be taking doubts on. It depends upon you, Raikal. If you want to do something, no, not for Git. You don't need to learn Python for Git. Well, I think you guys do not understand what Git actually is. Git is a version control system which is developed with assembly language and C. Okay, and that version control system provides us with some command line that you have seen in the Git command line, Git bash we call, and there are some commands which helps us to control the version. Pragati, please stop sharing your screen. I want to show something. Okay, so I think you did not get the idea behind the version control system. Like, a lot of people asked what this version control system is used for. So I'll be telling you what it is used for, and I'll be telling in brief. Okay. Is my screen visible? Can someone confirm from the team at least?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my whiteboard is visible or not?
Yes, sir.
Someone please say, because I can't see. Okay. So we are talking about VCS, like right? The VCS is the version control system, right? I'm not writing. Okay, so now this is suppose. This is developer type A, this is developer type B, and this is your project. Okay, in some organization or even in your personal project, some 10 developer of the type A are working on this project, some 20 developers of type B are working on this project. Now what happens, every day a lot of code gets added to this project, or a lot of code gets added to the source code that is available in this project. So now you as a developer working in one system, some other B category developer working in another system, some A category developer working in another system. So this is your project. This guy is adding some code. This guy is also adding some code. This guy is also adding some code. Now the problem is how to track the changes. How to track who made the changes. How to track the mistakes that some developer is making, because developers make a lot of mistakes. It's not like no one is making mistakes. We make a lot of mistakes. So how to track those? Now, VCS solves this purpose, and one of the best use of VCS, I can say, in general purpose, like you are, suppose someone is talking about Android application. Now you are publishing the Android application in version 1. Okay, this is not the version 1, version 1.0.0, something like that. So now you are using some code in this package, right? Some code for the some code for this Android application to run. Now for the version 2.0.0.2, do you need to delete this code that was published in version 1.1? You do not actually need to delete this code. Why? Because if you delete this code, your entire application will be lost. Okay. Now you are going to add some more features to this code. Like this code is first copied, then you are adding some more features. So the version is changed, and VCS is something which can just track down all these features we are adding when we are adding this feature, and that helps us in development and deployment. So this is something that VCS does. Now, you guys, if you are doing some basic projects, then you may not need to use VCS. But if you are doing some long-term project, then you are going to use VCS a lot. And this is a three types that Sushil has said. I think, yeah. So sorry, yeah. Sushil has said. So VCS has three types. Like one is you have seen the Git, and Mercurial is also this type. These are called as distributed version control system. This Mercurial is present in Windows and Mac OS. Mac OS is present in the Apple laptops, Apple computers. Okay, so this is also a VCS, version control system. Like Git is present in Linux. It comes with Linux kernel. So sorry, Linux shell and Linux kernel both. So these are called as the distributed version control system. Now someone was asking, what is GitHub? Okay, so GitHub is something that hosts your code and provide you with a feature of VCS that is similar to Git. Okay, now you are hosting your code there, and as you have the VCS feature is also present in the GitHub. For that reason, you can just develop your entire project on GitHub. You can store your code, you can retrieve your code, even you can deploy your code using some CI/CD pipelines that is also available by third-party softwares on GitHub, or something called, you can also use something called as GitLab, or you can use Bitbucket if you have some CI/CD pipelining and other stuff you have. The DevOps tools you are going to use. Okay, in GitHub, if you want to use the DevOps tool, that you have to take some third-party applications. So this is the basic thing you should know before asking any question about Git and GitHub. And sir, is GitHub same as HackerRank or CodeSafe? Actually, this is very, what can I say? Okay, you have asked this question. GitHub is something else, and HackerRank and CodeSafe are entirely different. Okay, so HackerRank, CodeSafe just host some codes and other, all the competition things. GitHub also hosts codes, but it is used as a software development platform. Like you guys are very much doubt in what GitHub is used for. I'm going to show you something. Like if my screen is visible, wait 1 second. If my screen visible, just tell me something by someone by opening your mic.
Yes.
Just tell me once. If my screen is visible. Okay. Okay. So this is as you can see, this is our GitHub organization. Like I'm the CTO of Eduelgo. I handle all the technical stuff. So I use GitHub a lot. Why? These all I like I can show you. This is Eduelgo API, which is present here as a private repository. We have made it private because I don't want you to see what our API contains. This is our Android app, which is contained here as a private repository. Likewise, we have the Python package that I was telling yesterday. So why we are using this? Like you can see, how many contributors do you have? We have more than 25, 26 people working here. They used to work here. Now we work as 10 people here. So these people had code. I do not know who to consider, who to delete, how to modify the code, how to track code, how to track the errors. So all these stuff can be done. How that is done here, I'm going to show you. Okay, you consider the report that, like, this is the 1 second. Okay, I think the repository is available, visible. So someone asked, what is a repository? Okay, you can consider the repository as a database, a simple database to store code with some additional functionalities like tracking the code. Like you can see, we have some tracking ID here to tracking the code, tracking the commits, tracking the person who is changing this code. Like this is someone who added implemented added under algorithms folder. So you have some algorithms. Is one of the algorithms for who can say why this algorithm is used for. It is a very basic algorithm. If someone knows, then please say. Or else I will say. I don't think anyone knows. For finding prime numbers. Okay, so this is called as a README file that shows about the package. This is under the MIT license, which is an open source approved license. We have 26 contributors. This is officially published as a Python package. That's why we have this PyTag, Python packaging index. And this is published with a wheel. Wheel is a bundle to publish this package. And these are some statistics. These are some download statistics. Like we have the total 13K download. We have 2K download in a month. We have a 386 download in a week. So this is the aim of the package, and this is the code of the package that is written here. We have some sponsors, some awesome sponsors. These all things are written here. These are our contributors. So how to track all these things? For that, we need to use version control system. So if you are doing some personal project, then you do not actually need to you do not actually need to use version control system, but I will promote version control system. That is better to use. Anything else? Okay. Anything else, guys? Please ask. Only 2 or 3 minutes, 3-4 minutes remaining. Some people are asking about cloud. I am also here to take the doubts of cloud. If you have any cloud doubts, how to use it, how to deploy the things, you can ask. I can say. Are you using graphic tablet? Yeah, I have some type of things to teach people. Like I am a professional teacher. I teach people. Okay, that's it. Any doubt, guys? Please write in the chat section. No. This is actually VS Code is not a local version control. I mean, local version control, distributed system. I said Git and Mercurial. I am coming to the VS Code part. 1 second. Let me first say what is local version control system. Like you can design your own local version control system with some lines of code in Python or C++. Okay. VS Code is not an IDE. VS Code is a code editor. IDE is something different. VS Code is a code editor. It can work like an IDE because we have some amazing extensions to it. Extensions means we have some, extra softwares that we have to use in VS Code to work to let it work like an IDE. So some of the examples of IDE is like Code Blocks, that is an IDE for C++. Turbo C++ is also an IDE for C++. Anaconda has some IDE called as Jupyter Notebook. So that is used for Python. Yes, same for Jupyter Notebook. These are not version control systems. Yeah, version control system extension is present in VS Code. That extension can enable you to use VCS directly from your VS Code terminal. But these version control systems also present in GitHub. We called it as the, what do you call it? Someone knows, if someone knows, tell, or else I will tell you. GitHub CLI, GitHub command line interface. Okay. So now this is not into popularity. This released last year. We got written regarding it. So you can also use it. Anything else, guys? No. Blockchain and cloud are not similar. Cloud is something that enables your application, your code to be available to the entire world. Okay, so you can imagine cloud as similar to cloud. What is a cloud? Like you have seen some clouds in your, like you are going outside and you saw some clouds in the sky. So now you know that this cloud contains some water. Like these clouds that we are talking here are present all over the internet and they are floating. They have all the stuffs that we need. Like we have the containers where we can put our code. We have the databases where we can put our data. We have some other stuff that was explained on the design day, like the machine learning APIs and all those stuffs. They are also present in cloud. They are just given as APIs, and we get the data from that. So that is actually the cloud, which is present all over the internet. And blockchain, I have never done blockchain, but I know that this is something used for the example of SaaS. You can take like Gmail. Someone has given the example, like right. Okay, so blockchain part. Anyone from the DSC team can tell about that, because I have never done blockchain. I know the basic stuffs, but someone from the DSC team can tell. Anything else, guys? How many of you want to see how a cloud dashboard looks like? Where is the registration for this? Will be answered at the end of the session. Abhishek sir will answer that. Dropbox, WebEx are also example of SaaS. Yeah, you can consider them. Like, you can't tell that something SaaS is entirely built upon software. Some SaaS applications also use a lot of infrastructure as software part, like AWS and other stuff. So you can directly call, and instead of differentiating them that this is SaaS, this is PaaS, and this is IaaS, so do not do that. Just try to learn how they are deployed and how their architecture actually works. Okay, so I am going to show you the cloud dashboard of our cloud. Okay, just ignore the background noise for some time. Like, is my screen visible? Someone open the mic and tell. Hello, my screen visible or not? It will go API, something like that. Okay, great. So here you can see that the cloud dashboard looks like something like this. One second. Like you can see, this is the event. This is the number of events that are occurring over time. Like we had some event at 15:30 to 15:40 UTC, Universal Time. Memory uses, like I have said someone today morning, that if you deploy something in the cloud that uses some memory, and I have the 512 MB of RAM available currently for our application, so that only uses this much memory, like only 17 to 80%. I mean 83.1 MB only. Response time. This is an important concept in computer network. Like if you want to be a backend developer, you need to learn about operating system as well as networking as well as databases, or else you can't actually define the response time and throughput. These are actually part of computer network. Dyno load. Dyno is something similar to container. Like now I am using Salesforce. That's why it shows Dyno. If you are using something else like AWS and something, that will show some container. These are actually basics of how a cloud database, cloud dashboard looks like. So you guys should understand why I have shown you this, because before jumping into cloud, try to understand these terms. Okay, if you are not understanding these terms, then you may end up paying a lot of money. Like, mistake happens by people, and even I have done some mistakes while deploying for the first time. Like I have paid $10 for only 5 minutes. So you should not do that. Okay. So that's it. Anything else? Visible. Okay, if you have anything, please tell, or else we'll end the session. Like, a lot of doubts are coming when the session was started, and now you guys are asking nothing. If you have any type of doubt, please ask. Yeah, someone is asking if you have any doubt outside of this session, you can ask.
Okay, thank you, Abhijit, for clearing the participants out. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. Okay, and all the best for the upcoming hackathon. Okay, so you have to participate, and like, you have to deploy everything, not for the project also, but you have to make your prototype model and participate as much as possible. Like, you have only 60 to 70 people around the whole workshop. Okay, but I suggest that like, I receive 100 participants from the first year. So I request that please participate and motivate your peers, your friends, and your classmates regarding to participate. I hope, like, these all 5 days or 6 days, it must be so beautiful for you all. Okay, so you must know something, you must learn something new, you must know about something that you ever don't know about that. Okay, thank you so much. And those who didn't have any doubt, they can leave the session. Okay, I am here to clear the doubts for regarding outside of the session, and also for the GitHub and GitHub part. Okay, so if you have any doubt, you can ask.
Is
like
it
Ankit
a
Singh is asking,
little
is it
necessary to
okay? Okay, Abhijit.
is it a little necessary to buy a good laptop in first year? Would I be a disadvantage if I buy in second year? Okay, this is a personal choice actually. How far you want to go and how at what speed you want to go. If you are purchasing it in the first year, then also you are going to do the same stuff that you will be doing after 1 year. So it's up to you. If you want to wait 1 year
Abhijit,
and
wait a minute.
after that you want to start.
Abhijit, he is asking like he want to buy a good laptop. I think you have the laptop, right, Ankit?
Sir, but a very simple one. It,
Oh, okay.
it,
Do you want?
it doesn't have a graphics card. It only has 4 GB RAM and nothing else.
Okay. So I must suggest you that try to increase the RAM if possible to 8 GB or buy something of 8 GB. Now, graphics card is an external thing. If it is present in the system, then your videos, your machine learning models, and some other stuff like games and other stuff will run smoothly. And even if it's not present, you can do the basic coding. Now, why I said the machine learning stuff, that can be done pretty easily on servers like we have the Google Colab, right? You can do that there, but that will take some time if you don't have the graphics card. So graphics card is an optional thing. If you want to buy that, that's all right. If you do not want to buy that, that's also all right. And the good laptop thing, why it is important to buy a good laptop, because you have to use that laptop for entire 4 years. Like someday you are installing Linux, and after 2 years your laptop gets damaged. Now you have to install Linux again. Installing Linux is a very big task. Will I be at disadvantage? It depends upon you here, because why I'm telling this, because disadvantage can be of many types. If you are going for any good project in first year, like your first year is almost ended in 6 or 7 months, I think, then after that you can also buy if you are not going for something big, some big project. Now 4 GB RAM is great if you are doing some basic coding stuffs, but for the advanced level things you have to install a lot of softwares. You have to install some very big softwares. Like if you want to do coding in Python, then you may have to use Anaconda. Now Anaconda takes a lot of RAM. Now your Windows operating system takes around 2 GB of RAM. So how in 2 GB you are going to manage? That thing takes some time. And if you are going for some Android programming in first year only, then also that will be a problem. Now, as I said, there are many disadvantages depending upon what you choose. If you choose just to do basic coding in C or C++ or Python, then it's all right.
It's totally depend on you, Ankit, what you want to do. Okay, it's totally depend on you.
Now, Rishikesh is present.
Any further question?
Yeah, Rishikesh, you are
Yes,
asking something about cloud, right? In the morning or in the evening, I guess.
Yes, sir. I was asking about how to deploy my project there.
Okay, so there are 3-4 things to consider. Those who don't have doubt, they can leave, and those who have doubt, they can ask, because today is the last session, I guess. Abhishek sir. Okay, so now for deploying your web application, you have to consider 3-4 things. First thing, you have to deploy your database if there is something present. Now, database can be deployed using different web services. Like in AWS, we have relational database system, RDS. Okay, in that relational database system, we have MySQL, we have Postgres, we have Oracle database, we have Amazon Aurora database. So these all are present there. So you can use any one of them. And how to deploy that is present in that documentation. Documentation varies from one cloud platform to another. Like in Google Cloud also, these things are present. So the documentation is different for both the cloud platform, but the concept remains same. So the first thing, you have to deploy your